just a little bit early. That was Power Rangers the movie, but we are now in game. Get the production tab and the nameplates going. In the upper left-hand corner, we have our yellow Protoss player. This is naelavok. And in the lower right-hand corner, we have our green Zerg player. This is ColtDarkfire. And this is APVZ. This is on Akalon Waste. I am DKG Zavos. For the SS Radio Open. Oh, this is something cheesy going on. This is the SS Radio Open number 4. Hosted by Sinvicta. If you guys haven't checked out Sinvicta's SS Radio, you should. It's actually a really great show. I've tuned into it several times. You can check him out on YouTube or check him out on his Twitch channel. That's twitch.tv/Sinvicta. And then I think his YouTube channel, I'll get a link to his YouTube channel. You can check it out from his Twitch channel. But I'll get a link to his YouTube channel because I think it's like 316 or something like that. I don't remember. I will figure it out for you though. So it looks like we're going to see a gateway expand type of deal out of naelavok. And just seeing the fact that it was the double extractor trick over here, I was expecting something a little bit more cheesy than just a little bit earlier spawning pool. So, I mean, but we're standarding out just a little bit. We're making sure that we're leveling back out. Maybe he just forgot to build that Overlord. So nothing too crazy going on at the moment, it doesn't look like. Overlord going across. Let's see if we can find where he's supposed to go right here. And looks like we got to pylon to wall that in just a little bit. Got our gateway. We're going to have a cyber core. And we've got an early expansion for our Zerg player. So I hope you guys are having a good day. I have just casted a couple games of StarCraft today. I'm having a good time. naelavok saying, "Aww. Aww." Don't know what he's awing about, but it looks like ColtDarkfire is a little bit supply blocked at the moment. That's not good for him. With no overlords on the way, this is actually one of the worst places to get supply blocked as a Zerg player, because it actually affects your economy quite a bit. And so there's a forge going down at the main base, and we've got our Warp Gate research going out. So we don't have an expansion quite yet. Our Overlord does scout that out. Knows that there's nothing going on. Sees it. And he should be able to see the forge as well. If he clicks on it, he'll know what it is. And I mean, everything's just kind of going underway. This is fairly standard anymore. Making sure that everything's going on as it should be. Pretty calm, pretty relaxed. We're going to lean back a little bit and enjoy the ride. We do have an early Roach Warren going down. So maybe it was just a little bit of tricky play. The early Overlord, or the early double extractor, did seem to imply that it would be some sort of early play, but the expansion kind of eliminated the idea of an early Roach push. And especially because he doesn't have any sort of bank for it, that eliminates the idea that it's going to be like a 7 Roach rush. You can't do that with the early expansion. This may be a defensive Roach Warren, just early, making sure that he has it available if he needs it. It's a little premature, but that's okay. We've got a Zealot and a Stalker defending the high ground up here, and this Overlord just kind of chilling out, making sure that he's keeping tabs on that forge. He can almost see what's going on, but not quite. Be nice to have that moved over just a little bit. None of them can see out, and if you see, notice that the Overlord actually has a little bit longer range, because it's right here, and then could only, it's a little bit longer. It's like a 2 or 3 hex difference. It's like a 2 hex difference. I think these have like sight range of like 6. No, it's like 8, and then Overlords have 9. I think that's what it is. That's not one of those things that they really spell out for you in any of the unit things. They don't tell you that that's the kind of thing that's going on, but Overlords, because they're high in the sky, they do have a little bit better range on their sight than the ground units do. It's only like 1 or 2 hex though. So anyway, Warp Protect is done. We've got 2 Warp Gates and a Robo right there. This Overlord going across, able to see basically everything that's going on. He sees the Robo, knows there's something going on with that. And we got another Overlord in position. Can he see it? Not quite. Doesn't know that it's there. But there's an Observer going across the map, going to be able to scout out our Zerg player. And I'm a little bit surprised that Darkfire doesn't have a 3rd base at the moment. I mean, at 7 minutes into the game, normally you want to have the Lair Tech, and when you've got Lair Tech, it'd be nice to have an expansion. He's got the money for it. He should have the drones for it for sure. He's almost fully saturated there, just enough. He needs to build a few extra. That one came from the natural, so that's why it's not fully saturated. So, I mean, he needs to build a few more drones just to be fully saturated once he transfers over for gases. But having 3rd base, especially with the amount that he had in there, losing an Overlord there, just in the middle of the map, right here, this one right here. So he should know that there's something coming at him. And we've got some sentries to wall everything in. And we've got roaches to defend everything. A Spinecrawler might finish in time if these delay a little bit. Looks like our Protoss player is going to scout out and see, hey, by the way, there's nothing building here. And then he's going to jump right up into the natural expansion. Zergling speed is delayed as long as possible is what it looks like. It's not that he doesn't have enough gas for it, but he's been a little bit strapped for minerals for a while. So now our observer is just going to camp right over top, sees that the spine crawlers aren't quite done, and he's going to go ahead and move in. And now the sentries with about half energy. He should have quite a few force fields to push in. Splits this army pretty well, actually. Doing a lot of damage, splitting everything up, and getting out to make sure that he's going to let these force fields wear off and try and pick it off again. And so now we see the observer with another detector, and that observer on hold position, going to go down. Adios. Destroyed into a bunch of little bits. Naelavok got his expansion up and running. Not fully up and running, but it is up and running nevertheless. We do have lair tech. We've got the roach speed almost done, which would make roaches actually faster than stalkers. And we've got some queens in here to defend, and as well we should be able to get some creep spread going. And like I said earlier, having that 3rd base would be really nice. And he should be able to tell. I mean, seeing that all these probes are over here, seeing all these right here, that's a pretty good indication that there's something going on right here. I mean, when you see probes mining away, just mining. Nah, I'm pretty sure there's an expansion there. So you should be able to know that, knows that that expansion should be pretty fresh, especially if he clicks on some of the mineral patches. You see that there's basically still 14 high 14s. If you click on those, know that there's high 14s. It's a pretty fresh expansion, should be able to expand yourself. 2 base versus 2 base is not a really good place for any Zerg player to be. And it looks like this drone is going to go over and drop the expansion over there. And now we've got a pretty big army going in with a lot of force fields able to be thrown down against all these roaches. These roaches are basically going to have to close a lot of distance very quickly. Roach speed is done. The burrow move, tunneling claws is almost done. So now he's going to be able to chase down everything in here and pick off stalkers one by one. This is not a really good position for Naelavok to be. Naelavok needs to drop some force fields defensively so that he can save this army. Otherwise he's going to lose the Immortal. Needs to drop these force fields defensively. There we go. Drop some, but needs to be more than that. And just need to select these. 2 more go down. Going to be able to make it most of the way home. Zealots are going to try and sacrifice themselves to save everything. But now he's running out of force fields. I mean, looking at that, he's got maybe 1 or 2 left. Now he's got a Colossus in, and Stalkers are coming in. And he's lost the Immortal, which is a really good snipe by our Zerg player. We want to make sure, as Zerg players against Protoss, you want to make sure that you snipe everything from a Stargate or a robotics facility, because sniping Warp Gate units, although it's a lot easier, taking out your Warp Gate units, they're replenished so much faster. So if you don't take out the robotics facility tech or the Stargate tech as a Zerg player, you're going to be at a disadvantage. And you know what? Naelavok, doing a pretty good job, made sure that he saved as many units as possible. Losing an Immortal is rough, but with those force fields that he threw down in the middle of the map, saved him from losing his entire army. He would have lost pretty much everything, especially if those sentries have been sniped out. Sentries are one of the main things that make gateway units viable, because they have the Guardian Shield that protects against range, and they've got the force fields that help them out. And then, especially in Heart of the Swarm, with the new hallucination ability without an upgrade, it's really helpful for them to keep map vision as well, which is something that Protoss might have struggled with a little bit and forced them to do a lot of all-in type builds. And so now they can respond more to their opponents and make sure that they know what's going on. There is no vision right now for ColtDarkfire, and he doesn't know that this third base is going down, so we're going to whisper it just a little bit. There's a third base going down for naelavok. He's doing a really good job capitalizing on the fact that his opponent has no vision, as well as the fact that his opponent is now turtling up because he saw Colossus. So he knows that he's not being contained, and so because ColtDarkfire is all the way over there, I mean, he basically has no idea what's coming at him right now. He's got zero vision in the middle of the map, which is not a good position you want to be in as a Zerg player. You want to have as good a map vision as possible. And now it looks like naelavok going to start taking out these rocks, and the roaches are going to take a couple pot shots at him too. And right now, you definitely don't want to be at the high ground trying to defend everything, because everything that's here is going to be able to shoot basically from that far distance. Roaches are trying to close the distance because he knows the force fields are trying to come in. Splits his army basically directly in half. Zealots are doing a ton of damage. Roaches are trying to get out of there as best as they can. Hydra's taking a lot of damage because they are so squishy against something like Colossus. This Colossus escapes with 1 HP. Need to snipe that down right now. There it goes. And unfortunately, there is no Mothership Core here, so this army needs to be able to do as much damage as possible. Need to see some more force fields going on, maybe some Guardian Shield. There we go. Guardian Shield goes down. Stalkers are going in, and they're trying to warp, trying to micro their hearts out, and there were some pretty good force fields there at the ramp to try and maximize the amount of damage going on. But now there's zero production going down for our Zerg player, so this was a pretty good attack in the fact that it delayed a lot as far as any sort of production, because while that attack was going on, he was still producing a few more things, and now our Zerg player, although he's got really good creep spread, which is going to help him go across the map a lot faster, he's staying outside of his natural expansion. Anytime you get attacked, it would be nice to go in and push against your opponent just to see what he's got, because especially if you've knocked out the entire army, you know that he can't have too much back at home. So ColtDarkfire would be good for him to push across the map, but you know what? naelavok, with 2 Immortals over here, going to be able to hold it off, but it would be nice as a Zerg player to know what you're going up against next. And you know what? naelavok's been playing this out really well. Got the High Templar just in time. Storm is starting to come down. Our Zerg player is trying to scout out everything, make sure that our Protest player doesn't have that 4th base, but he still doesn't know about this 3rd base over here. And so now we've got Immortals. We still have Colossus to do some damage from behind. We've got High Templar storing up energy. Psionic Storm is almost done. If we start chronoing that out just a little bit, I mean, let's look at where it is right here. 1 chrono, and that's going to be done before the army even gets there. But he's just going to camp out and contain. And unfortunately on this map, it's not very easy to make this kind of containment. You can contain a Protoss to 4 bases. Zealots are in the back. They're not going to be able to tank as much damage as they want to. Some storms go down, weakening a lot of these Hydras. You can see that about half of them are in the orange and yellow, and one of them even in the deep red right there. Going to try and go home and recuperate just a little bit. Losing a little bit of energy on these. I think that was 1 wasted storm. But you know what? He's got a lot of High Templar, so he's going to be able to regenerate a lot of storms really quickly. And ColtDarkfire. Colt is just really antsy about trying to move out. He's got a 4th base down, and it's trying to establish itself. He's got the rocks dropped down, and so hopefully this rock tower will get dropped at some point, especially when you've got your army right there. Just having those rocks to delay your opponent just that little bit longer helps your army get home that little bit faster as far as what it can defend. Now we've got some macro hatches going down, using up all the energy on both of those. It'd be nice to have some gases over here. And looking at the Protoss base, he's got that Templar Archives done. He's got Zealot Speed, which is a really good advantage when your Zealots are having trouble staying at the front, because Zealot Legs will close that distance a lot faster, making them far more effective. And it looks like we've got Gravitic Boosters for our Observers. Observer Speed, really good, especially when you've got a lot of really quick units like Stalkers and Speed Zealots. Got a bunch of probes over here that need to be transferred down to another base. Maybe dropping a 4th base right here, just to make sure that you've got everything going on. He's got the minerals for it, so a 4th base would be really nice. It would really supplement his gas income, if nothing else. Because, I mean, this main base right now, I mean, you don't have any minerals, so you might as well. And it looks like we've got a huge engagement going over here. A few good storms. You can see that a lot of roaches getting taken out by that last storm right there. Zealots waiting for their charge to come in. They're going to be able to close out the distance really quickly once that is done. No blink on the Stalkers, and an Observer helping snipe out some of those Hydras that are burrowed. Storm going on top of basically everything. And while everything is stacked up like that, our Zerg player's losing a lot of units. Really good storms going down. And, I mean, everything's just doing a lot of damage. And especially when you've got tiny units like Zergling, storms just do so much damage. And when you've got burrowed units on top of units that are unburrowed, oh no. These Templar are out of energy. They don't have any storms. We need some Archons going. Archons would have been able to swing this totally in our Protoss's favor. But he is trying to hide them as best as he can. But unfortunately, these are going to be chased down. One storm goes down defensively, trying to storm his way around. Our Zerg player does try and run around a couple of them, but almost everything here is dead. A couple more good storms if he had them. 2 Archons going down as best as they can, but that 1 High Templar getting taken out on its way down. Those Archons taken out before they even had a chance to shoot one little bolt. More Archons over here, and it looks like we're switching primarily to what looks like a very heavy Zealot Archon kind of composition. We do have a few Stalkers and some more High Templar, and we only have 1 Colossus though. And so really I believe that it would be nice for our Protoss player. He's starting to run out of minerals, and he's really oversaturated at this 3rd base. Having a 4th base would really be beneficial for him, especially if he drops these rocks. These rocks aren't that powerful or aren't that tough when you've got this kind of burst damage army. And, I mean, he's doing a really good job with his hotkeys. I really like that he's got his main army on 1 hotkey, and he's got his High Templar on another. Going back to our Zerg player right now, it looks like he's got all the tech for his Hydras, which is really nice. And it'd be nice to have a few Infestors running around, just because that extra DPS really does help you out as a Zerg player. Even though it's a little bit harder to get the shots off than it was, it's still a really beneficial unit for you. And right now, our Zerg player is struggling in his economy. And our Protoss player finally throwing down his 4th base. And our Zerg player just doesn't have enough drones. Right now, he's got it fairly even. You can see that his gas and mineral economy is soaring, especially if you look at his spending. But the problem is that he doesn't have the economy to keep remaxing his army like he'll need to against this sort of Protoss thing. I mean, yes, he's got primarily gateway units, which Roach Hydra is really good against. But with Colossus shooting from the back and a High Templar being able to storm your entire army down, this sort of composition isn't exactly the best thing for you. Trying to regenerate all the energy or all the health on all these roaches. Doing a pretty good job. Now everything's basically up to full health, and you can see that the Hydras aren't going to regenerate any faster, but still going to regen a little bit of health while they're down there. So not a bad idea. And it looks like there's no observer in this army, so having burrowed roaches, especially since they can burrow and move, if he could burrow everything and just start kiting the Hydras back, and then jump the roaches up, he should be able to sweep most of this army down. Right now, looking at the upgrades, though. Looking at the upgrades, we've got 2-1 for our Protoss player, and it looks like 2-2 for our Zerg player. But unfortunately, a lot of the units that he's got are really squishy against this particular Protoss army. Because you look at the Archons, although they have basically all shields and that's all their health is, they still tank a lot of damage with those shields, and they will be able to regenerate the maximum amount of health for a Protoss unit. And it looks like supply block going down for ColtDarkfire, but losing a lot of units, so the supply block is lifted. Unfortunately, we don't have enough of a surround with Zerg units, and the Zealots are keeping all the Zerg units in. Oh no. Everything gets taken out. That's so rough. Naelavok throwing down some money storms. Yes, you have to sacrifice a little bit of your Zealot energy or Zealot health right there. But you know what? Worth it when your opponent loses basically his entire army. There's the GG. Well played. And I have to agree, it was a really good game. Naelavok doing a great job there. All right, everybody. This has been DKG's Avos, and I'm going to get a drink real quick, and I'll see you guys for the next one. I will be right back.